You know, guys, I decided to throw this right into the B-roll footage, and if you guys want to go ahead and hit the pause button and read these, or if you want to just kind of scroll through, or hell, I'll even link it in the description box, because obviously it's going to be talked about in this video. But even Charlamagne the Fraud, even Leonard McKelvey, which, by the way, that's his real name, the guy who bleaches his skin with a bald head and tells you his name is Charlamagne, even his own audience thought very little of this discussion. And he's even got people in his comment section saying, I was a little bit on the fence, but now I'm going to be supporting Donald Trump.
With Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, how are you?
Very well, Charlamagne. How you doing?
Listen, we got 20 days and 60 minutes, so we just need to get to it.
I'm with you, although it's 21 days.
How are you? Because you did just walk in. You was kind of late, so.
Well, I try to be on time. Apparently, I'm 40 seconds late. You're right.
Well, you are black, so. Okay, now. Now, you know.
But to some, she's obviously black in their eyes. Still, though, at the same time, though, this interview right here was a disaster. And, of course, as you guys saw earlier, there are people actually in the comment section telling Charlamagne that this was a softball interview and that some of these people are even saying they like her a lot less. We'll get to that here in a second. But we were talking earlier, I mentioned the point behind Charlamagne the God. Well, obviously, it's designed to get to black voters. Let me let Jesse Waters explain. I want to go ahead and start this video out by saying that little line right there about being late, and I'm going to forgive you because of your skin color. That's not exactly something that's going to be winning voters over. It just isn't. However, there is this other plan that Kamala Harris does have to win voters over, or at least get black men back on her side, which most of them, of course, are not on her side, which, of course, I talked about that again, the 12 o'clock video, which I've already got posted for tomorrow, which, of course, this video right here will be coming out shortly afterwards. And, of course, I'll be talking about the Bret Baier interview because, don't get me started. I'll talk more about that when I actually record that video tomorrow. But let's just go ahead and say that things are not exactly going well for the Harris campaign. So they figured that they would offer $20,000 to anybody who, just registers as an entrepreneur and give them a bunch of weed by basically legalizing weed. Some people will fall for that, but of course at this point in time, it's just petty, desperate pandering. But of course, like I said before, we got a lot to talk about, including all the slip-ups from this interview and why it is that this interview right here probably won't move the needle when you actually look at what was being discussed and the actual reaction of people. But of course, there are people out there who are sarcastically saying, please stop at this moment in time. And what I mean by that, and who I mean, of course, is the beanie guy.
At this point, my friends, I'm going to have to ask the Kamala Harris campaign to just please stop. Stop doing interviews. I don't know, resign or something. This is apocalyptic for this campaign. Kamala Harris goes on Charlamagne the God. She gives some garbage answers. She's collapsing in the polls. She's collapsing in the betting markets. She's getting roasted in the comment section. Rapper Lord Jamar says Kamala Harris isn't even qualified to run Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven.
No, I say let the woman keep on going. Seriously, I say let her keep on doing these interviews. She's supposed to be going on Rogan, which I personally don't think she will. But I'll probably do a video on that probably the end of the week. As I said, I'm going to be ramping up the content. Now, guys, before we get started on this, make sure you guys please go ahead and hit the like button for the algorithm. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing. It's free. Just click it and hit the notifications bell. Speaking of those notifications, make sure you guys go to your phones, go to your devices, and cut on notifications for this channel so that way you guys are informed when the videos come out. I am going to be ramping up the content at least until Election Day or at least till afterwards, and then I'm probably going to go back to a different type of schedule to start next year, especially when I start doing more pop culture stuff because I've been trying to get back to that there. But of course, it is election season at this moment in time, so obviously I'm going to be doing a lot more political takes. With that right there out of the way, let us go ahead and get to this. So what is the purpose behind doing an interview with Charlamagne the God? Charlamagne the God, as you guys know, Charlamagne the Fraud, Leonard McKelvey, he has a propensity to just up and support the Democratic Party nominee. He's practically a Democrat Party propagandist. Of course, he's recently come out against them recently, especially when it comes to the whole transes commercial and how that ad that Trump ran was very good. And of course, he's been a little bit down on Harris. But of course, in this interview here for roughly an hour, he was pretty soft on her. I don't even think he even asked her a hard question. But then again, though, when you actually look at the interview and the things that she said, she kind of destroyed herself if you just look into her past. Like, for example, the topic of reparations came up, or her past on marijuana came up. As a matter of fact, we'll start with that.
As president, I will work on decriminalizing it because I know exactly how those laws have been used to disproportionately impact certain populations and specifically black men. Public defenders who are around those days will tell you I was the most progressive prosecutor in California on marijuana cases and would not send people to jail for simple possession of weed.
Back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator.
I figured I would throw in the Tulsi Gabbard bit because that's exactly what Kamala Harris did when she was the district attorney in San Francisco and she was the attorney general of California. She locked up people for simple possession of marijuana. So if she did this in her past, why the hell would you anticipate she'd do it? Or why the hell would you anticipate she let people get away with it now? This is just a ploy, the $20,000 and the legalization of weed, which, by the way, Trump has even came out and said that he would legalize marijuana or he was okay with it as long as it was not being smoked out in public. That's pretty much my rule. I don't care what you do in the comforts of your own home. Just please don't show up to work high. Please don't drive high. Please don't drive drunk. It takes a very inconsiderate person to do so. But obviously also the prison record as well. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. If Kamala Harris was to magically get elected, I think that there would be only one thing that she would focus on. That right there would be the thing that she knows how to do, and that is going after black men. That is exactly what she would do if she's president. More than likely what would happen is that Republicans would have the Senate and Congress, and nothing would get done, and she would just alienate black voters more. Now, the thing about calling her black is obviously being done as, how do I say this? It's being done to try to create this we hate all white, so it's the white man who's making everything worse. If that's really and truly what it is, okay, because she's not really and truly black. And of course, several people have come out and called her out for saying that she's black when obviously she's not. Gets compounded a little bit more when you actually look at not only the fact that she came off sounding fake and robotic, which she actually had a meltdown during the interview with Bret Baier, which was expected. But the thing that really struck me was this bit where she basically says that she has to stay on script, or thank you for telling me that I stay on script, because I sound robotic. Because basically, we'll get that in a second too. Like, so this video right here, is, there's a few different directions we're going to be going at with this video, but still though, as you guys can obviously tell, the purpose behind Charlamagne da God is obviously to give Democrats a softball interview to try to make them seem a little bit more likable. But there are times when the Democratic Party nominee just insults the living crap out of their audience when they try to pander to them. Remember these?
There's nothing about the poll numbers that we're seeing right now that should make anybody feel like she got this in the
Remember those poll numbers with Hillary?
Remember those poll numbers with Hillary? And I keep telling people this campaign feels more Hillary-ish than it does Obama-ish, Obama 08-ish.
When Hillary was in trouble with the black vote, Democrats closed their eyes and prayed for the God to save her. That's Charlamagne da God. But then Hillary pulled out the hot sauce.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you getting information right now?
Hot sauce.
Hot sauce in my bag, swag?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yes.
Now listen, I just want you to know, people are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. No, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
Then Democrats tried it again. They sent Biden in and he told them, "You ain't black."
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
You know, I got to go ahead and say this. I'm from the South, all right? I say it all the time. I've been around people of color my entire life. I've been around black people, Hispanics. And I got to tell you right now, I know Mexicans that do not like chili peppers. I know Mexicans that don't like spicy food. I also know black people who don't walk around with freaking hot sauce. And that bit about Joe Biden, of course, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Yeah, that was just an absolute slap in the face to a black man. But of course, Charlamagne da God sat there and took it. Basically, what I'm trying to say to you guys is that Charlamagne the fraud has a tendency to be just the Democrat propagandist because guess what? He doesn't really have any actual opinions that are actually his own. And of course, you guys probably saw it a little bit with the Andrew Schultz podcast. That just should tell you everything you need to know. He's going to tell this person something else, but of course, he's obviously going to put on a front. He's going to put on a face for Kamala. He's obviously going to do that for the Democratic Party nominee. So once again, this woman got a softball interview, and even the softball interview that she got, she still failed at. Of course, we got to talk about the topic of reparations. So once again, like I did with that bit about marijuana, I'm going to tell you what she says now and then what she was saying a while back.
My agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister, and by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
That last part, Kamala Harris, and don't worry, I'll link everything in the description box. That way you guys can see that obviously I'm not taking her out of context, which, by the way, there was more there, but still, though, her position before 2019 was that she was in favor of reparations. Then she wasn't in favor of reparations. Then she was in favor of it again. Then she's not in favor of it. And now she's saying it needs to be studied. And you wonder why it is that black males think this woman is fake. Or, as I've said before, the real reason why a lot of black men ain't going to vote for her is because, well, she's a downright hoe. And don't no black man respect no hoe. I kid. Look, I know YouTube, Google's probably going to get upset about that. But since they put a strike on my channel last time and I won the appeal and they reinstated the video, I'm feeling a little bit froggy. Please forgive me, okay? But then again, I don't really care who I piss off. But still, the point is this right here. This was not a good interview for her. As a matter of fact, she actually found a way to alienate the audience more. But that bit that you guys saw there about her being on script, or that bit that people are talking about, let's go ahead and get into that.
So Barack sent Harris to see the God, hoping the third time's a charm. Harris spent all day prepping for Charlamagne, cleared her whole schedule for one interview at 5 o'clock. The first question Charlamagne asked her, do you ever say anything new?
Well, what do you say to people who say you stay on the talking points?
I would say you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, here's the thing. I love having conversations, which is why I'm so happy to be with you this afternoon. And the reality is that there are certain things that must be repeated to ensure that I have everyone know what I stand for and the issues that I think are at stake in this election.
Mm-hmm.
And so it requires repetition. Some people say that until someone has heard the same thing at least 3 times, it just doesn't stay with you. So repetition is important.
Kamala thinks voters are too ignorant to get her message through their thick skulls.
Okay. So you guys obviously saw that. And you're probably wondering why it is that she keeps on doing this. Well, the Beanie Man, he had a segment on this. And, of course, we're going to be talking about the Beanie Man a little bit later on this week because we got to talk about Rogan. And we also got to talk about the Pierce Morgan blow-up where they had Nuki, what's her name? And, of course, the, man bad, misogynist, all that type of crap. The normal type of crap that turns people away from Democrats to the left. But still, the thing is this right here. Why in the world is it that this woman just says the same thing over and over again? Well, let's go ahead and look at this.
Ideologies that she's talking about, that you've got to keep repeating things over and over to instill in people's minds. Now, she's not completely wrong, but it's not usually associated with positive behavior when you tell someone you've got to repeat things over and over again to stick it in their minds. We got this from the BBC, How Liars Create the Illusion of Truth from 2016. Repetition makes a fact seem more true, regardless of whether it is or not. I'm actually surprised she came on and said, yo, this is why she can't do interviews, okay? There's a real simple answer if you were to ask me.
Well, based upon the voter registration numbers that I've been seeing in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, even my home state here in NC, I've been seeing across because they post this stuff online on Twitter pages, get a hold of it, and even redirect you to the website. More and more people are starting to register Republican. And, of course, Gallup now has an R+3 electorate, meaning that more people are actually identifying as that. So that tells me that maybe the country at this moment in time is shifting in a direction away from leftism. Even if by some odd chance Kamala Harris was to get elected, I'm pretty sure she would get elected, still having to deal with the Republican Senate, which, by the way, I don't think she will win the presidency. But still, though, we all know Democrats will do Democrat things. The point is this right here. Nobody's buying into it. And a lot of it's really because of her personality, as the Beanie Man points out here.
Campaign's policies too much? I'll give them to you right now if you want. Done! I said it. You notice how it took her like 30 seconds to get there.
So repetition is important. And for that reason, yes, at my rallies, I say the same thing when I go to Detroit as I do in Philly, as I do wherever.
But that's not the criticism, dude. The criticism is that when people like Charlamagne or anybody else asks her a question, she just repeats a scripted line.
I am, to make sure that people hear and receive what I think are some of the most critical issues that are at stake in this election.
Oh, I just can't take how she talks so long to say so little. That's just me. You can, by all means, guys, if you're like, Kamala Harris is bad policy, she's annoying, all that stuff, it's like, fine. But I got to tell you, I do not like having my time wasted. That's why I talk really fast. So when Kamala goes on these interviews, it's insufferable, right? Dude, he says, what's your tax proposal? Well, you know, a lot of people are very concerned about, well, I come from a middle class family, and my economic proposal is about an opportunity economy, an economy that creates opportunity. Yes, how is it going to create opportunity? That was the question. The question was, what are you doing to make the economy better? And instead you said, I'm going to make a good economy. That's not an answer to anything. Anyway, you get me all riled up.
He's not lying. He's not lying, not one daggone bit. I mean, this woman says so many words to say so little to make a point that's almost damn near non-existent. But like I said, people in the comment section did not react well to this. However, it also goes back to the script thing. Now, before I get back to the script thing, there's one more thing I do want to play for you guys. Let's take a look at those comments.
The top comment with 2,000 likes says, I think this interview has pushed me towards Trump. The next one says she is clearly the best choice for president. I'm pretty sure that's sarcasm, but hey, maybe not. One person called her retarded. Another terrible ass-kissing interview. This made me want Trump more. Trump's got my independent vote. The more she talks, the less I like her. Not voting for her, voting for Trump. She's making it easier and easier for those in doubt to vote Trump. I literally cannot afford another 4 years of her. Trump 2024. Here's a black dude saying she's not black. What talking point? She never answers a damn question.
Like I said, it was absolutely embarrassing. And trust me, the Bret Baier interview was way worse. I just got through looking at that. All right. And there's a lot there. That video may even be a damn hour with all the screw-ups there. I mean, I don't want it to be that daggone long, but let's just say I'm probably going to be a little bit busier than normal tomorrow. The fact of the matter is that this woman here, as you guys will see with this next segment, she can't even get the script correct.
Donald Trump would go into the Department of Justice and manipulate it in such a way that it would be used as a weapon against his political enemies.
Yeah, he's going to lock y'all up if he gets back in office.
Well, by the way, you should look at his words. I don't think that you as a journalist should feel so sure that
100%. I'm out of here.
Journalists, judges, others. And you know who does that? Dictators do that. Other countries do that.
Same talking points. Donald Trump's going to use the DOJ. Donald Trump's going to be a dictator on day one, which he said he would be a dictator for a day to get everything in order with executive orders and crap. I mean, look, after a while, it gets repetitive to the point, and here's the thing I need to understand. You think that beating somebody over the head with this with the same messaging over and over and over again is effective? No, it's not effective at all. It may be effective in places like, say, China, where the people don't have a way to fight back in the social media and the internet censored. But the thing is this right here. This kind of goes to how it is that Democrats have overestimated their propaganda. Let me explain. Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time to the 1880s. It's Russia. Well, actually, I think 1881 to be exact. I'm not entirely sure. Historians, you can beat me up with this, Mary. Tsar Alexander II was killed by a group called the People's Will. He was bombed. Died. Sad story. These people would eventually do more and more revolutionary activity. Alexander III, he would crack down on it, of course, and then eventually Tsar Nicholas, his son, would eventually take part, and he would be a pretty weak leader. But eventually the Russians, and they would eventually devolve into civil war, mostly because of the Bolsheviks, the Mensheviks, all that type of stuff there. And of course, people forget that the Bolsheviks actually lost their first round of elections in a massive landslide, and they decided to start a war afterwards, which is kind of the MO of communists. They normally get their asses kicked in elections because, let's face it, their ideas are terrible, but they're bloodthirsty, and they always want to fight after they lose. Okay, now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because back in those days, the only thing you had was the paper. That's all you had was the newspaper. And information took a long time to spread. We live in a day and age nowadays where, and there's a reason why it is we call it like a 60-minute, sometimes 60-second news cycle. It's because information goes in one and out the other. So I've always said that you should always have an archive for all information. It's a good thing the internet does, in fact, exist. That way you can archive it and you can bring it out there. And people do it all the time. I do it too. Some people, well, actually a lot of people do it better than I do. And some people do it way worse than I do. But still, the point is this right here. Information flows at a rapid rate nowadays. And people, for the most part, get tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over again. So after a while, what happens is that people just get desensitized to the messaging and reject it altogether. Some people, of course, are true believers and they believe in what the hell is being said. But most people, for the most part, just say, you know what? I'm not exactly feeling what it is these people are saying. And of course, after a while, it just becomes good old-fashioned gaslighting. What the media tells you, what the politicians tell you, especially Harris, what they tell you, just not exactly reality, or not exactly your reality. So therefore, people, of course, are going to respond with, I just over this crap right here. And they're just going to go out there and vote the opposite of you because you've been the biggest reason why their lives are so bad. I mean, look. You can go all the way back to the 1930s. You can go back to the start of the Third Reich. Most of the information was through the newspaper. Every now and again, you got film that was sent back in the United States. People go to the theater, watch a weekly reel. During World War II, that's how you got updates, how most people did it. They went to a movie theater and saw like a 30-minute reel before watching a movie. Or the same thing happened with Korea. People would go in there and watch serials. They'd get their news from there. Then the TV came out. You had 3 channels. What I'm saying is that utilizing this strategy over and over and over again in today's society is not going to be as effective because there are so many other ways to counter it. And let's be honest, people's minds nowadays are pretty much mush. Like John Lennon said, they dope you up with sex, drug, and TV. I mean, that's basically what they do. But of course, he was coming at it from a much more leftist perspective. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't anticipate that the United States would have a bit of an awakening. But still, though, at the same time, what I'm saying is that this line of saying the same thing over and over again is just not going to work. And it's not even working on Charlamagne the God and his audience. And he's being as absolutely friendly as possible to her, which we kind of expected that he would because Charlamagne's a fraud and Charlamagne's a propagandist. But still, even his audience is saying, no, I think I may go vote for Trump because I just don't like this woman. And that right there is the reason why this woman is losing the race. She is so unlikable. She's actually more unlikable than Hillary Clinton. Do I need to remind you that earlier this year, her likability was 28%? 28%. That is lower than Dick Cheney, and he shot a guy in the face. But they expect us to believe us at the 53. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. I'll have the Bret Baier interview video out probably tomorrow night. It may come out late, like at 6 or 7 o'clock. Like I said, I'm going to ramp up the content for the time being. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please sign off in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. And I'll see you guys later.